I think that's our generation, to be perfectly honest. We've always got that kind of self-doubt. Like when we were growing up, we were always questioned, whether it was by our parents, by our peers, all that kind of stuff. Why are you playing this? Why are you playing games?
I'm shutting it down. I'm deleting my Twitch account because I don't think there's going to be another game that I'll want to stream anyway. I was like, I might even be done playing video games in general. Why am I spending time online playing games, all this extra effort to stream? It's like, what is the purpose of it? Welcome to Emotive, Episode 2. I'm your host, Dan, also known as Orangesherbet. Today on the show is my friend kabbie, who I've known for quite a few years. We talk about our origins on Twitch, how the site has evolved, and advice for creators who may just be starting out. All social media links and notes from the show are in the description of the episode. Enjoy the show. So kabbie is from Australia, and it's always a struggle for me to know like the time zone difference, because right now it's about 6:00 p.m. So it's like dinner time for my neck of the woods, and for you it's like
I've just had my wheat bix. It's all good. Yeah, it's about 10:13 a.m. here at the moment. So I'm a late starter. What can I say? Having my first coffee of the day.
My sleep schedule has gotten around 10 a.m. is like a pretty good start for me a lot of times.
Yeah.
Although over the last month I've been even better. I've been more like 8 a.m.
Oh, nice.
wake ups. So that's not too bad, right?
The kids try, but yeah, the kids try and get me up at much earlier. But
I bet.
Yeah, I'm pretty heavy.
when you're a kid, you just want to take advantage of the whole day. It's almost like what we should be doing, right?
Yep, exactly. Take advantage of the whole day, but I want to sleep. Damn it.
You value that sleep because it's just me. Like I value my sleep, but it's hard to get. It's hard to get, and I don't have any excuses. I just need. I don't know what I need. I need to figure something out.
Just take it as it comes. I think. Yeah, I
think so.
Yeah.
If I get I've been getting about 5 hours of uninterrupted sleep, and it doesn't feel like enough, but. Some days if I'm just forced to, like the days where I'm working, I'm forced to just like get up and get going, then I'm cool. But if it's like a day where I have like a little bit of lax time, I'm like, well, shit, I want to try to fall back asleep.
Hell yeah. Yeah. No, and it's that catch up. The catch up kind of a thing. You've got the sleep debt. You've been edging into that sleep debt. You need to catch up on it, man.
I don't know, man. I've listened to people talk about that sleep debt, and I feel like it's almost like killing brain cells. Like once you lose it, you don't get it back. I don't know if you can get it back, but at least you have the illusion of like, well, I'm catching up on sleep.
Yep.
As long as you're feeling rested and you're productive, I think that's the main deal. And like, well, what's in the past is the past. You shouldn't like think you can just catch up on sleep on the weekend, especially at my age. Like, oof, like that's just you're not gonna. It's not gonna work out well for you.
No.
Before we get too far, I want to let people know who you are, how we met, and stuff.
I am some weird Australian from the East Coast in Queensland. I've been a gamer all my life, to be perfectly honest. Started on the Commodore 64 way when I was a tiddler. Yeah, moved up to PC from there, and really been stuck with a PC ever since. Dabbled in consoles every now and again, but nah, PC all the way, brother. How did I start with Twitch? Jeez, I was playing with some people. We'd gotten into Arma 3. Basically, discovered this little mod called Epoch. I had initially skipped out on the original DayZ mod back in Arma 2 days. I was too busy, I don't know, doing something else. Probably nowhere near as fun. We got into this Epoch mod, and it seemed like pretty much fun, a lot of fun. And one of the guys, had introduced me to Twitch, and being an old fart, I was sitting there going, why the fuck would anybody want to watch somebody else play games? It was just like, well, I'll give it a shot. Had a lot of fun. It wasn't about other people watching you play a game. It was about other people interacting with you whilst watching a game. Yeah, exactly. The community side of it. Never really took that into account before. And then so I started streaming this Epoch stuff. Probably getting ahead of your questions here, but one day I received this massive. Well, I thought it was massive anyway. This massive raid from this partnered streamer by the name of Orangesherbet Very grateful, and I've been following the antics of this whippersnapper ever since.
That's funny, man. Going into this, I didn't actually remember the like moment that I met you. And
Yeah.
and now it's kind of coming back to me. Yeah, just to give people a little bit of context about like what is Arma 3, what is Epoch?
So Arma 3 is a military simulator by the it's like a Central European
Yeah,
country, but I
Central
just can't
European. Yep.
remember. But yeah, so it's a military simulator, very hardcore and very moddable, which is what I like about it. I've never actually finished the main campaign. My
Yeah.
many hundreds of hours of it have been in mods, including Epoch, which is a survival mod for Arma 3, which was back in the day originally built off the bones of DayZ, Arma 2 DayZ mod. Yeah, I think that's it.
So I had to look it up, and I felt bad. I had to assume that they were Czech, right? And I was
Mm.
right. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah,
where
Czech,
they
Czech
come from.
Republic. That's it. Yeah, I keep thinking I always get confused between them and CD Projekt Red,
Oh, okay.
who are Poland, so completely
Right.
different. Mm.
In my involvement with the project, Epoch mod, as
Mm.
it were, I've been helping them out since 2012. I mean, I could go into that whole story, but kind of embedded with the team as a tester. And then I realized that, a lot of people were interested in just like, how does the mod work? And like, how do we do certain things? So I started making like little educational videos and started showing people on the stream. Like the first thing was like fishing. Like, how do you fish? Well, you get a fishing pole, you do this and that. This is
Yeah.
back in Arma 2. And then when it came to Arma 3, I helped work on the wiki, and we made little tutorial videos for that. And Arma 3 Epoch was much more like the features were much more insane. Like base building requires energy and all these things. And oof, yeah, it was during the promotion of Arma 3 Epoch mod that got me partnered on Twitch. So that
Yeah.
was kind of a big deal. Hearing you talk about Twitch
Mm.
and your feelings on it, when you look at it from the outside, it does appear to people, honestly, people that are a little bit older and aren't really embedded in video game culture, which sounds
Mm.
really pretentious. It's really not. Video game culture is very inclusive, and like everybody has a common interest. So think about like when you go to a convention, you go there and you realize like, oh my God, like this thing that you're kind of uncomfortable about like sharing with some of your like
Mhm.
relatives and people that
And
aren't.
publicly, yeah.
Yeah, at your work and that, like, oh, well, haha, you like video games, nerd, or something. To a much lesser extent now, you go there and it's like, I can openly speak about anything to anyone. And it doesn't matter what level of fandom you have. Like me, I'm kind of low level, really. I have a very niche interest in things. And it's a very comfortable thing. And that's kind of how you feel like on Twitch in the
Mm.
best case scenario. Like you can have discussions about games and it just feels natural. It doesn't feel like, oh, we're all awkwardly sitting here watching someone playing video games. And you mentioned like once you get into it, you realize like, well, this is just sweet. It's just real
Yeah.
casual, and like take it as serious as you want to,
It
spend as
is
much time as you want.
it is quite literally the equivalent of just sitting with your mates on the couch, battling through some frigging GameCube game. Yeah, it's
Funny
basically that.
that's your
Yeah.
go-to is GameCube.
Well, I think a lot of social gaming kind of wise for me was the good old Conker's Bad Fur Day, because it was a game that wasn't meant to be played alone. Even though it's not multiplayer, it's not meant to be played alone. It is a laugh out loud, sick, inappropriate.
You're talking about Nintendo 64,
I
right?
am talking about Nintendo 64. Yes,
Okay.
so
Okay.
it was the only game I had for the N64. Actually,
What? That's so weird. What
yes,
the
yes.
hell?
It was. It was. That was like the introduction of having everybody sitting around and everybody actually engaged in watching the game and interacting with the person playing the game, because everybody was interested in complete and utter inappropriate bullshit was Conker going to come up with next.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so weird that like how did that end up being your only game? Like how does that
Oh, I inherited that GameCube from a roommate, and he took games and he left Conkers.
that
So
game You're talking about 64, right? Because you
Yeah.
said GameCube. Oh, okay.
64. Did I say GameCube? Did I? Sorry, my bad.
Yeah, I was just
Yeah.
making sure. Like, I don't know if they. I don't think there was like a remastered version that came out on Xbox or something.
Yeah, there was. Yeah,
But that
no,
was
it was
after Rare like shuttered, and so they didn't. No, they got bought out by Microsoft, right? That
yeah,
was the deal.
It was. They got brought out by Microsoft. I don't know how long after that, but after Conkers, they got brought out.
I don't know a lot of this video game history off the cuff, by the way. I just know a little bit about that because I was kind of a big fan of that game. Kind of as an outsider, I played it through emulation because that was the only way I could play it. Because by the time I knew about it when it was coming out, but it was around the time where I sold off a bunch of my game collection because well, my girlfriend at the time really wasn't into video games. I just didn't want to have all of that. It was like kind of like baggage. And I was kind of like in between living situations. It's like after I graduated high school, I'm like between there and college, and I'm like, I have to fit everything in the back of my truck or it's just not going to work. And like all my collection pretty much went kaput except for I kept my Super Nintendo and a couple games, and that was about it. And then of course I have that in my truck as I'm moving one time and it gets stolen.
Oh,
There's my video game collection. It's just out the door. Jesus. Yeah.
Shit luck.
Well, hey, let's continue speaking a little bit about Twitch. And I'm just going to go through my experience with it and like where I feel like it went and my confusion on like where it's going, right? My inspiration for anything when it comes to live streaming, which just came out of nowhere, is just wanting to record my experiences. I always I think that it must have been back in the FileFront days. FileFront was a website where people could just host. A lot of times it was like hosted like frag movies and stuff for Counter-Strike and Quake and Team Fortress. And there were websites that would advertise these. It was kind of like there'd be like a little blog post and it'd be like, oh, well, this creator released this movie, this frag movie, and I'd watch it. And it was so exciting to me. And I was like, well, shit, if something really cool happens, I want to show people. So I made a little frag movie off of my public server Counter-Strike days before I joined it. Well, I was in a clan, but joining a clan on a public server basically means you get to wear the tag while you shoot against a bunch of random people. And we played these fight yard maps, and they were just small, like casual deathmatch maps. So my first foray into like video editing and that was recording demos in Counter-Strike, and then later on you could go back and play back your demo and it would mimic your movements and shooting. It was pretty advanced for the time, I guess, because it would record if people use their microphones in the game. It would have an audio track embedded with it too, and the demo files would get kind of big if people use their microphones, but a lot of times it was just the movement. But there was no fraps was a big deal when it came out, because you're able to capture your screen. That was like huge. It took a really beefy computer to do. What I used was Start Movie, I think was the command in the console. We're talking about Counter-Strike on the Half-Life engine. Counter-Strike that came out like 1999, and this was probably 2003.
Oh, so the good old Half-Life 2 mod, or actually Half-Life mod. Jeez,
Half-Life mod.
This
is
number one.
Half-Life 2 was 2006. This is like 2003. So
yeah, no, I remember. Yep.
So I used Start Movie, and what it did was it used bitmap, not JPEG, bitmap pictures, and it would just take a snapshot every so often. And I think you could set it to 30 frames per second or 60. My computer couldn't do 60. I could do 30. It'd have all these bitmap files, all named the same thing, and then 0001, 002, and then you would have to sync it up with the demo, and then you take the bitmaps and convert those into a video, and then you take you get all these video files, and then you somehow some kind of archaic, I don't even remember what kind of. Think about all that effort. The reason why I'm giving all this context, like all that effort to make this like really crappy video, which I have to find the link to it and post it, because I actually have it on YouTube.
That beast would have taken like a day to render or some shit like that. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I remember I was at my friend's house because I didn't even have internet. So everyone's because the apartment that I rented, they were like, "Oh yeah, there's internet access." I was like, "Oh great!" And I go there, and like the options for internet access, they duped me.
Oh,
It was a blind spot for both cable internet and DSL. The only internet you could get was dial up
oh
or like
no.
ISDN or something. And it
Yeah.
was very expensive for that. And I was like, "You got to be kidding me!" So I just like partied most of the time while I was there. And then
Mm.
every once in a while, I would haul my computer with the big ass CRT over to my friend Corey's
Oh, jeez.
place, and then
Yep.
he'd be like annoyed because my big ass computer in like the dining room or
Mhm.
whatever. Let's
So,
be honest. Let's be honest. When you're like it's like a bachelor pad. Like the dining room isn't actually the dining room. It's just an
no,
open stretch of
it's
carpet.
yes, yeah, pretty much, pretty much.
So
Yeah,
I'd have that out there and be playing Counter Strike, and he'd be like, "All right, well, we don't have to just sit here the whole time." But yeah, I was so committed. I'm like, I'm gonna make my frag movie right now. I remember it rendered for like 12 hours or something.
yep, yep.
And where did I upload? Where did I even upload it to? It was before YouTube, so I think I put it.
Oh,
I think
man.
I think I did put it on FileFront,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
but then I also saved it on CD-ROM. This is before
Mm,
DVD. So it was on. There was like one CD. I
mm.
remember it was like 500 megabytes or something. I conserved it somehow
Yeah.
and saved it all these years later. Um, just going off of that, where I have to get, I need to get somewhere close to Twitch here
No,
because
no, no, that's all right,
otherwise
that's
I'm
all
just
right.
gonna talk. I'm just gonna start talking about like my Counter Strike career or something. Fast forward years later, I made all sorts of crappy. I made all sorts of crappy montage videos for my clans. I actually was gonna. It was around 2010. It was in 2010. I was done with Counter Strike. Needed to find a new game. I was kind of broke, and I was like, oh man, I'm just going through my bank statements. What in the hell is this? It's File Planet, and I was so mad. There's this website called File Planet, and you would use it back in the day before games would automatically update. You'd have to go on to these file hosting sites.
Yeah.
That was the whole point of File Planet and FileFront.
Yeah, yeah.
They'd have little banner ads, and it was places where you could go to get game updates. I had this premium subscription to File Planet that had been taken out of my bank account. It was something like $10 a month. It's a lot of money to me, you know. And I was like, I was so mad. It must have been active for like a couple years or something, and I just never
Oh, jeez.
noticed because I was an idiot. I never looked at my bank
No.
statements. So I'm like, what the f, man? I go on to File Planet, and I'm like, what is this subscription even for? I didn't even understand. I think that File Planet was like the premium thing.
Yeah, yeah, like, you had to subscribe to get all the major speeds. Yeah.
Yeah, that was the deal, right?
Mm.
I hope that I'm calling it. I don't even care if it's not the right site. I don't know if it exists. I don't even know if it exists anymore. But
Yep,
the whole
yep.
point of this was, with File Planet, you can get exclusive beta access to upcoming games. And I didn't even know that was a thing that like you could. Well, I
Mm.
was a beta tester for frickin' Counter Strike, if you count that, and like Team Fortress Classic.
Yep,
But
yep.
I didn't consider myself a tester
No.
or anything, and it's a mod. It's not like some AAA game or anything, but they did have like early access to certain games that were like going to be coming out, and that was their whole thing, their whole
Yep.
shtick. So there's
No.
a game called All Points Bulletin, and
Ah, yes.
it looked a lot like Grand Theft Auto.
I remember it, when it was when APB was first being advertised, it was basically being advertised as a GTA
Open
kind of
world.
experience. Yeah, yeah, open world kind of
Yeah.
experience. I remember it got me very excited.
I was
Yeah.
not in the loop at all with
No?
any of that. No,
Mm.
no, not at all. So when I saw there was this, it had to have been closed beta because if it was open beta, then
Everybody would have, yeah. Yeah,
everybody would have
I
been
wasn't
let
in it.
in. I had they gave me a couple of keys for it, and I'm like, you got to be kidding me! This is amazing. And I had already canceled the subscription. I'm like, well, at least I get something out of this thing. I probably paid like $200 for
$200 beta keys. Woohoo!
$200 beta keys. So my friend Justin and I tried it out, and we were just like, because we were Counter Strike buddies.
Mm.
And I was like, this is freaking incredible. A third person shooter, just like Grand Theft Auto. And we're like, oh, this is cool. And we were goofing off. And the game was as kind of as advertised, kind of like a Grand Theft Auto-esque open world third person shooter with progression, sort of RPG type progression,
Oh, yeah,
and
yeah.
cops versus criminals, PvP. And then the criminals, we played as criminals, of course, because we're the badasses, right?
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
You go and you ram raid shops. steal stuff, go get money, get better guns, talk trash to people. You know, you grief people with dump trucks.
Yep.
All sorts of stupid crap. I had made a couple of videos for that too, like little silly montages. Those still exist.
Yeah.
And then it was Justin that was like, "Hey, you know, check out this. There's this site where people are live streaming, and it was Justin.tv.
Oh, yep.
And I was like, well, that's cool. My PC was barely able to handle APB at the time. So I was like, I wonder, maybe this is like a better way to like record my stuff. Because I just wanted to have something out there for posterity. And I realized like, oh, well, a few other people are using this site for this game too. You know, I just threw up my stream just so that I could have the recording later. That was kind of the genesis of it. Yeah. And get a few people chatting in there. And I realized that like, I'd have to like alt tab out to read the chat. I think that I got a laptop or something to sit next to me to read my chat for a while.
To read the chat, yeah. I know we, like the group of guys that I was with, before we started playing Epoch, we were pretty heavily into the initial DayZ standalone, like that December that it came out. We'd started playing it because one of the other guys had actually played Arma 2 and DayZ, and he was right into it. Yeah, it was very, very much a similar kind of experience. You know, we were doing some just stupid crap. The way DayZ is, you can basically do whatever the hell you want. So we did some dumbass things, and you want to keep some kind of recording for prosperity reasons, memories and shit like that. So I initially started doing that. That was when I think Shadowplay was like on its very first kind of iteration. It was like in beta testing and stuff like that. So I was recording via Shadowplay, and I would try and do these edits that upload them to YouTube. They don't exist anymore because I'm totally ashamed of them. But there was things like I remember capturing some dude, and we took him up for a journey up the coast. Just pretending like he's some kind of oh god, what was that bloody movie with a dead guy?
Bernie's. Weekend at Bernie's.
We were pretending like it was a weekend at Bernie's with this captured freshborn and shit like that. But and that's when I think that's where I first started streaming on Twitch, because that it wasn't, just thinking back on it, wasn't Epoch, it was that DayZ.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, totally lying to your listeners. Jesus. Wow.
Yeah, it's weird. It sometimes it comes back to you later, like where it actually started. I picked up a few details in my story as I was talking about it here. And memory is kind of a weird thing. Whether it's completely true, it's just how you remember it. Like you're being honest, but like it's like well, maybe the story is a little bit different from somebody else's view because their memory is slightly, it's just what they were around for.
Exactly. Because that was a time where YouTube wise, I was following a lot of guys like Mr. Moon, Blackout, who was some Jamjar. That were the big kind of DayZ guys on YouTube.
Guys. Yep.
Yeah, when they took the switch over to Twitch, and I was quite literally, I wasn't joking before. I was as an Australian who, we're like about 5 years technologically behind the US. So we're sitting there. I'm sitting there scratching my head, like, why would, like, edited videos I can understand, but watching people play this shit live, especially DayZ, where nothing happens for hours at a time. Sometimes.
I mean, did it seem kind of lazy, or what was like? Because you're into games, so like, what was like the hang up for you?
Well, I just couldn't understand, especially with something like DayZ, right? Where you can quite literally, this is a game where you put a coin under your W, your S key, so it pushes down your W key for crying out loud.
Yeah.
What on earth would people want to watch?
The running simulator.
The running simulator for what can be about 5 minutes of action per hour. I couldn't understand it. But when you start doing it, it is quite literally that. You start chatting to people, and the DayZ community was, there were some arseholes, don't get me wrong, but there were some really, really good people who'd come and watch. Like, I may only have like about 3 viewers at that stage, but they were 3 really tight fucking people. They have a chat and talk about this and talk about the progression that Standalone was taking at the time, because that was when Rocket was still commanding the troops there, and
Sure.
Yeah, we were, you'd have this conversation of, oh, I'm so excited to see this. What happens if they bring this? And that's what filled in the time. And that's what actually made playing, it made playing the game even more friggin' entertaining because, all the boring bits were filled in with chatting with other people. It was great. It was wonderful. And the same with when we did eventually switch over to Epoch, it was the same kind of thing. Epoch was a lot more tighter. You didn't have, especially with the AI kind of, the AI troops, and every time I heard a fucking drone, your arsehole would pucker up, and it's just like, well, where the fuck are they coming from? the bits where you're trying to get to another town or something like that, and having that community there to fill that in and have a chat with and all that kind of stuff. It was great. It wasn't just streaming for streaming's sake for me. It was kind of having the guys with you along for the ride while you're doing it. Yeah,
you do it for long enough, and it feels weird to not stream while you're playing something.
Exactly.
Like something's missing. Yeah.
And sometimes you feel guilty when you're playing a game by yourself, and it's just like, well, I really should be streaming this, but fuck them,
Yeah. So I'm gonna get back to my timeline. This is 2011 now, and I was like, I have to get a second monitor. I actually hooked up I think I'd been using my LCD. This is what I did. I ended up hooking up my CRT as a second monitor, right? No, I think I updated my PC. Maybe. Okay. I don't remember, man. All I know is that I found it necessary to have a second monitor just so I could view the chat, because that was it was such a big deal, and I didn't even know it. I was like, this is really cool, even though like half the people in the APB community would just come in to talk shit or something. Like the other half were pretty cool. You meet some interesting folks, and it was a lot more active community back then as far as like people chatting it up, and the game had a much bigger population. But things changed early 2012 for me. Some drama ensued regarding the game and people that I'd met in the game, and I was like, I'm done with APB. I'm shutting it down. I'm deleting my Twitch account because I don't think there's going to be another game that I'll want to stream anyway. I was like, I might even be done playing video games in general. I had just turned 30.
Yeah.
So I was like, maybe it's time for me just to quit playing video games altogether. And then in June of that year was around the time when DayZ mod came out for Arma 2. I had bought Arma 2 when it was on sale on Steam. My friend Justin and I played it for like a minute because we didn't even know what it was. We're like, these are giant maps and there's like hardly anybody playing, and I don't understand how to play. And like, I didn't understand that there was like an extra expansion you needed for certain things, and like there's all sorts of things you needed to do to actually find a good server to play on. I didn't know anything. Then I got clued into DayZ mod, and people were playing it. And by the way, in 2012 was the switch to twitch.tv. So yeah, it was a switch from Justin TV to Twitch, I think. Or did that happen it happened in late 2011, or it was early days for Twitch in 2012. And there were people streaming this DayZ mod. I started watching a little bit, and I was like, what in the world is this? It was so like intense. And I'm not a person that's like into horror and stuff like that. I didn't know what sandbox meant in a game. I barely knew what open world meant. I mostly had played Counter-Strike up to that point. So I understood like, oh, it's a military sim and people are shooting people, but there's zombies. And like most of the time when I was watching people, it was just like pitch black and they were terrified, So like, well, I got to try this out. Ended up kind of falling in love with the game. I spent a couple of months playing DayZ, like without streaming and that. Ended up meeting a guy, and he was starting a little community. We were playing with his crew, and like that community, it was really cool. I would say the guy's name, but some shit went down, and unfortunately we're not friends anymore, even though it was kind of my fault.
Oh,
okay. And I regret it. I regret it to this day because he was like a big inspiration for me in streaming. I started streaming on the Orangesherbet account. I think it was September of 2012, because what I wanted to do was I wanted to help this guy promote his community. I didn't have any other motives other than that. And there was a lot of good people that came through. and someone named Sacriel, who's pretty, who's still a pretty relevant.
I was about to say.
He's still a pretty relevant streamer nowadays. He came through and raided me, I think, a couple months into my streaming. I think it might have been in 2013, like spring of 2013 or something. But that was like a huge moment for me.
Yeah.
And I decided to continue on streaming kind of after I had sort of broke off friendship from the guy who inspired me to start. But the one thing that he always did was he greeted people as they came into the chat. And I carried that through. You know, I did little surveys on my stream. I'm like, do you guys like it when I greet you? And they were like, yeah. In fact, I did an official survey about a year later, and like 80% of people said, yes, I like it when you greet me. And the way I would do it is I use an IRC client for the chat, and I could see when they joined and when they left, which actually creates this weird like mental thing, like when you see people leave the chat too.
It is. It's just like, what? That joke wasn't that bad, guys. Come on.
But yeah, most people liked it, and I'm going to kind of jump ahead in time a bit. I think that everybody that streams can relate. You go through periods where you're like, I don't know if this is worth it. Life situations happen. Maybe the game you're playing becomes less popular. You just become demotivated, burnt out, all those things. Well, of course, that happens just periodically. So it's amazing. It's amazing that I continued streaming. In the summer of 2013, I think August, I had started making friends with some of the guys in the Blacklist community. I discovered Smack, and he's just a really cool guy. I've met him at a couple different conventions. Now, he's just super chill, and I liked his vibe. I liked the people that hung out in the community, the Blacklist community, which is some of the people you listed, all friends with Smack. Everybody just kind of came from there. A lot of the people I still talk to nowadays are kind of came from that community, and he invited me to join the stream team. You know, I think it must have been a recommendation from, I know it was tacimpulse had a hand in it. What a great guy. What a great guy. I could probably talk for an hour about him, but I won't. Getting invited to that stream team gave me a little extra juice. And that's kind of the story of me on Twitch, like, because it's just like an age thing. I don't know if it's a midlife crisis thing or whatever. I'm just like always having to justify, like, why am I spending time online playing games, all this extra effort to stream? It's like, what is the purpose of it? Is it a self-fulfilling thing? Well, is it like for me to grow this big persona and like make a bunch of money and like do this as a career? Obviously not. But there's always this like fulfilling nature to the community behind it, and like, well, is it worth it to them? If it's worth it to them, then it's worth it to me, right? And there was always like someone to give me a little hand up, a little boost, you know? And that always kept me going. Otherwise, man, I would have quit right there and in 2012 it would have been just over, you know? I always found a purpose to come back, man. You know?
I think people bring a lot to that as well. Like, I can't quite remember how old you are. I know I'm in the 38 range. I think you're the 36 range, aren't you?
37, man. This
37. There you go.
Yeah.
And I think that's our generation, to be perfectly honest. We've always got that kind of self-doubt. Like when we were growing up, I don't know if it's the same with you. I'm just going to assume it is, because like it just seemed to be that kind of a thing. But we were always questioned, whether it was by our parents, by our peers, all that kind of stuff. Why are you playing this? Why are you playing games?
So true. Yep.
Yeah, you could be playing sport. Why the fuck are you sitting in front of a computer? So we've got this like deep-seated kind of a thing where, you know, we've got, you know, even today we've got society sitting there in the back of our heads, this imagined kind of society sitting there going, why are you wasting your time doing this?
Right.
You should be doing something productive.
And they're saying like, and they're also saying like, well, these games are a bad influence on you.
Yes. And we're seeing that in news, in current news. I don't know what it's like over there in the States, but, you know, the go-to for Australian like current affairs media is friggin' Fortnite addictions. Like it's like it's a slow, you know, it's obviously a slow day slow news day. Let's some kid being addicted to Fortnite and not blaming the friggin' parents.
Sure. Yeah, totally. I just try explaining what Twitch is to your family and figure it out in a way that they can understand, because they'll never get past that point of like, but why are people watching?
Yeah.
Because what do? They watch TV and there's no feedback. There's no
No.
like interplay between them and the thing that they're watching. They don't realize like how powerful it is. Imagine if they were able to watch the news and ask the news person like, well, what do you actually think? And let me ask you this specific question. Their minds would be blown. Of course, that's not what happens on Twitch.
No.
But something that they're interested in, like someone that they enjoy watching. Imagine if they were able to like stop them in the middle of it, and the person would be like, "Oh, well, let me let me answer your question." Yeah.
A good example would be cooking shows, and we've got cooking streams now as well. So that's something that you could possibly show. But my old girl was always interested in cooking shows, so I explained it to her like that. Can you just imagine? Imagine asking, is a friggin' paprika really required? Can I substitute it with something? Some shit like that.
Yeah,
I don't know why I chose paprika, but fucking paprika is good.
Hey, man, spice it up.
Spice it up. Exactly. But that's how I actually literally explained it to my old girl like that. Yeah, the old man, I think, being an old English, kind of a thing, just no clue. He's only just getting the grasp of Facebook. Yeah, my brother's a very manly kind of diesel mechanic. Does not understand it in any way, shape, or form. It probably because it doesn't involve beer. Yeah.
Well, it's not like, people have to understand that, like, if you're living a balanced life, it's not something that's going to like harm you. It's just going to, it's like a way of like just relaxing. And it's actually, there's actually more constructive behavior there than just sitting there vegging out watching the tube, like watching Netflix. I mean, you're actually interacting with people. Now of course there's all sorts of negative things that can happen. Like you could get into some drama. Somebody could, you could get scammed by people. There's all sorts of things. Those are just, you just have to be careful and educate yourself on the harmful behaviors of the internet, right?
Yes.
But as far as just like being in a Twitch chat, like, what's the harm? I don't see the harm. There's nothing bad about it.
No, you're hanging out. You're hanging out with people. It's just in an online space while one of your friends is playing a video game.
We're trying to get from like the beginning to today, and where I left off, somewhere, let's say early 2014, behind the scenes, Epoch mod has been in development for a bit. Yeah, sometime in 2014, I was able to join the server and I got to see some of the first sort of base building stuff get put in, and it was really cool. The team was hyped. The Epoch mod team was hyped to get this mod out there, and they wanted to do the same thing they did in Arma 2. The whole way I got involved there was like, oh, I got an early beta key from the developers. Now, I was the one, I guess back then I had handed out beta keys too at a certain point, but I don't quite remember the Arma 2 days as much. But in Arma 3, it was a big deal. Pretty hype. Everybody wanted to get a piece of it. It was different this time around. And this is kind of like where the story starts to shift. Like, Twitch is shifting. There's more people getting involved with it. So some of the people that were getting keys for it were also people that wanted to stream it. So it was like content creators that. So there was like more pressure. And like during the time when the key giveaways for Arma 3 Epoch were going on, I got pretty significant bump in my viewership, going from 30, 40 maximum viewers to now I was getting 150 to 200 viewers or so during that time. Yeah. And people were there to learn about the mod, but also they wanted those keys, man. A lot of people wanted keys. So that's what I can thank for my Twitch partnership, because the whole motivation behind it, no doubt, well, this is an opportunity. If I don't do it now, it's never going to happen. I felt like, which is just from my brain. That's not actually true. But also, Twitch didn't have this little thing called transcoding for everybody. So that meant that like everybody who's partnered had quality options. So around that time, 2014, like not everybody had the best internet connections. So having the transcoding options was a huge deal.
Well, being with my dodgy Australian internet, I wouldn't have been able to watch so many of the partners without transcoding. I think
I mean 720p 30 FPS was the norm for streaming back then.
Yeah. And my little ADSL1 connection just could not deal with that.
So that was kind of, that's how I justified doing like applying to be a partner. But also this is it. Like it's either I do it now or I really don't have much. I really don't have a whole lot of hope to ever be partnered. There wasn't a lot of them around then. It was a pretty rare deal.
And it was a manual process too. It wasn't like the well, I think it still is partially manual, but it's not like the okay 70. You have to have 75. You have to unlock this. You have to unlock that.
Right. There was no achievement system on Twitch then. It was just like you could go through like their help system and be like, oh well, apply to be a partner. Okay, well send your application here. And then either it's approved or not. And lucky enough, I got approved. You know, it was a pretty big deal. And then we're just going to do some jumps forward in time. So like Epoch mod ultimately did not hit. There's a whole nother story behind there. It kind of didn't hit with gamers. There was hype around the release and then it quickly died off. There was some drama that happened. And with the dip in popularity of Arma 3 mods in general, ones I was interested in anyway, you know, my stream kind of died down as well. Started to lose interest in playing that game. I think around then is when I first tried 7 Days to Die in the very early alphas. It might have been even like alpha 10 or something. I thought that game was ass, you know, when it first came out. Now it's one of my favorite games. It's definitely my favorite like sandbox game that I play for the most part.
No offense to Joel, is it?
Yeah.
No offense to Joel, but it did look like us. Incredible us back in the early days.
Yeah. And this is coming from someone I played Minecraft for a while, you know, back in the same like 2012, 2013-ish. I played it off and on, you know, so I wasn't really graphics weren't really the thing that drove me most. I didn't really understand the early access thing at the time.
No. And I don't think a lot of people did back then either. Especially with the DayZ standalone release. Once again, just going back to one of my favorites. But it was the same with 7 Days to Die because it wasn't that much long after, I don't think.
Yeah, people didn't understand what it meant to be a tester and what it meant to have patience and all that. And to be fair, like I was in the same club, you know, until I actually became a tester and saw what it was like for developers. And they're just like, you know, they're not like, ha ha ha, we tricked everybody. They're like, they're just like eager, like, give us the feedback. We got to fix this. We want to make it good. Like, we want to make this. We want to make a product that we can be proud of.
And I think I haven't had a chance to read it yet, but Dean Hall was saying that he was going to go on like an Instagram story of how it was back in those days as well.
I've been waiting for it. He hasn't put it out yet.
No, because that would be really interesting as well.
Maybe after E3.
Yeah, maybe after E3. But I think that would be interesting because obviously something happened to him there. That's why he left. A lot of the drama, well, not so much drama, but just constant beration and abuse by one particular part of the DayZ community, I think had a lot to do with that. And the same with trying to think of his name, Brian Hicks would have had the same kind of experience, you know, during and after Dean left.
Yeah, there's a whole separate conversation we can have about expectations versus reality and like what it means. Like the lessons that are learned from early access. And I think that Dean Hall is, well, for one, like what he accomplished, and two, like what he's accused of. Like it's so crazy because obviously he's not set out to scam people or something. No. But the second part is like you don't understand the impact that he had just from the mod. Like there's a whole timeline of the mod to like what we see now, and like the two are are connected in a way, just bang, 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 like what was popular. And at the very beginning was the mod. And at the
That's my,
end, now
yeah.
you have all these battle royale games.
Yes. So
So we can go over that sometime.
Oh yeah.
That's a whole nother like 2 hour long timeline thing from my perspective that I could just say it. But I'm gonna get back to 2015.
2015. Yep.
More people have been getting into streaming since Twitch blew up. Sometime in 2015, 2016 ish was really the big boom for Twitch.
Yeah.
I can't remember when the Amazon buyout was, but it was, I think, in 2015, if I remember right.
Yeah, I think it was. 2015 sounds about right. Yeah.
I started to. I've always been. It goes back to questioning why am I doing this, and that I always felt kind of obligated to continue, at least at that time. And I was like, man, this is just starting to get burned out. Had some pretty tough personal losses in 2015 and definitely in 2016. I've really kind of doubted what is Twitch now? Is it still like the community thing that it started out as, and we're all here together? And and what I saw was a lot of people coming into it fresh and coming at it from the monetary aspect, trying to grow these big personas, trying to just take advantage of all those opportunities. And I was never jealous of that, but I was honestly a little bit resentful because that wasn't the spirit of how I came into it. And I guess that's a selfish perspective, but I did resent it because, I have been a Twitch partner since then, but I didn't feel like I was like a money grubber,
No.
I felt like I was being myself and going about it that way. So I've just kind of I don't know. I felt like people picked up certain games only because they were just riding the wave, and that and I've since gotten over all of these things. By the way, this isn't how I feel now. That's how I felt back then.
No.
Now I just realize it's an open platform. People can express themselves. They can be creative. They can create these big personas. It has since opened up to people to stream themselves outside walking around. That was kind of a big deal for a while. Is it still a big deal? Is the IRL stuff?
IRL, yeah. So apparently it's a bit still a deal. But I think IRL as a category was always a shit show though. Yeah. Always a shit show. It was full of drama. It was full of people trying to do YouTube pranks and all that kind of stuff. And then you had people who were generally going out and having a chat with their community while they did shopping or some shit like that. Or does this dress look good? All that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But there was always that dark side to IRL. I think, and I think it's still there of people who just want to shock and don't quite realize that Twitch isn't YouTube. The community really isn't gonna put up with that kind of shit.
You know what's funny? I believe that the casual eating, whatever that eating your dinner while you're on stream, that came before IRL.
So social eating.
Eating.
Wasn't that any streamer who did a 12-hour stream, eating their ramen noodles on frigging camera?
It kind of gave people an excuse to just do the the camera on you, because it used to be a thing that you needed to have gaming content, because Twitch has always been a gaming. I feel like it's always going to be gaming at its core. Yeah,
definitely. There's always going to be that gaming aspect to its core. Even it's not IRL anymore. It's that just chatting and social.
Oh, that's right, dude.
Okay, kind of stuff. They split it up.
I don't know. People listening might be screaming, "Come on, guys! It's right there on the site." Well, I'm trying to use my recall, and this is what happens when I do that. So I don't want to be here looking at my tabs while I'm talking, because I'm not good at multitasking.
Exactly, and this is what happens when you get two old bastards having a chat. This is what it's about.
We're just chatting, just like the category. That's
exactly,
that's fairly recent, within the last year.
It's last year or two, I think. Yeah, last year or two, because they did do the whole IRL experiment, and
right.
What a shit show that was. So that's when they kind of started breaking it down into more specialized categories.
Sure.
Which is still a shit show, because just chatting it's an experience to go through just chatting.
It is because while things are kind of automated in a way, like you can get away with certain things for
Mm.
about 15 minutes sometimes.
Yeah, yeah.
You could
So
be, but what is the what is the I feel like those are just like tests. This is like when back in the day, which back in the day means 3 or 4 years ago, there
Yep.
were these chat bots that would come through and they would spam your chat, or you would get a
Ah,
mass amount of follows, or you would get
yes.
like view botting and stuff
View botting.
was
Yeah.
holy shit. Yeah.
Yes. And like I swear, I think there was one time. My mod reckons it was very organic because I've always been someone that I don't have viewer numbers up on screen while I'm streaming. You know, I don't have who's in the chat room either. It's basically whoever's engaging with me, I'll engage back. But there was one time, one of my mods sent me a private message while I was playing Long Dark, actually, and this was over a Christmas break kind of a period, and they said, "Oh, Kabbie or Kabbie Man, whatever it was back then," and they said, "Dude, you've got like 130 viewers," and it's just like, "Fucking what? Am I being view botted?" And I
You
was
thought
freaking out.
you thought that right away?
I thought that right away.
You're like, there's
And
no way that there's
there's no
130
way
people
I
watching
can
me.
get 130 because there was no hosts, no,
That's
this,
right.
yeah, there was no hosts or anything like that.
Wow.
And it's just like, dude, this can't be right. I'm getting view botted. I'm freaking out, thinking I've got to tell Twitch so I don't get banned or anything like that. Both of my mods that were in the stream at the time were just like, dude, no, this has been natural. This has been over like the last couple of hours of you playing this game. They've just started trickling in, and there's been guys who, it hasn't been like a view bot kind of a situation where they have at that stage they were that sophisticated. These bots were having conversations with themselves and things like that just to try and make it seem more natural. But
Yeah.
they were engaging with me as a streamer and listening to what I said, which is not what these bots generally tend to do.
Holy shit.
Yeah, so it was just like I just could not believe it. I didn't roll with that. I don't know how I fucked it up, but I didn't. But that was I think we got onto that via viewbotting. But yeah, no, I was just completely flabbergasted.
I swear that these view bots, they would do random tests to see like
Mm,
what worked, and
yep.
not to, well, we're both small streamers,
Mm,
right? They
yep.
find a small streamer and they test it out.
Yep.
Because that's somebody that's probably not going to be, it's going to be kind of shielded from the eyes of the Twitch overlords or whatever. So I think that they've done a good job keeping those. I haven't seen
Oh, I haven't.
evidence of view bots or chat bots in quite a long time.
It's been at least a couple
They
of
were
years.
harassing big streamers too.
Mm,
People would get
mm,
spammed, and
yeah.
they've got enough drama to deal with. You get
Especially in the
enough
chat.
you get enough Twitch viewers in a room, and it turns into every esports tournament that gets broadcast. Bunch of
Ah.
copy paste bullshit.
Exactly. So that's what really good mods are for. Really, you have
Yeah,
to have really good mods. Very, very intensive mods as well. I think one person that I can think of that has some of the best mods in the industry would probably be Sequisha.
yeah, sure.
He can have a couple of thousand people in a room, and it does not descend into absolute chaos. I've never seen his
There's
chat descend into chaos.
That's the thing, man. When you grow your community organically, and when
Mm,
the people that stay are there for you,
yeah,
they are a reflection of you, the
yeah,
broadcaster. If you're a good person, which is such a generalized term, but if you're a person that sets a good example, and
yep.
you don't let shit slide, and you
Mm,
filter out these people that are just there to troll, harass,
mhm.
when I say that, I mean a little bit of trolling is fine, but
Yep.
they're there just to like be like me, and then just like say a bunch of edgy stuff and not actually engage with each other, because
Yeah.
that's where the magic happens as a streamer, when your voice is being heard, and people in the chat aren't just saying one thing to you. It becomes like you talking to the chat, responding to them, but the chat actually chatting with each other. And once
Mm.
that happens, then something kind of magic happens.
Yeah, it
And
does.
before I go any further, I do want to say, like, I've been streaming for, this is my 8th year of streaming, which is so weird. 8th year combining my two channels together. And of course, I'm not going to be able to mention all of the awesome people that I've met along the way, but through telling the tale, I've thought of a bunch of these people. So, I'm not going to go through like the whole like list of probably like hundreds or maybe like 1,000 people that I could mention, but I do think about all of you often. So if you're listening, thank you so much for being a part of this journey. And if it wasn't for all those people, I wouldn't still be here. And I feel like I'd have an empty place in my heart, because while I have sometimes lost motivation to continue on, like it's a big part of me. And it's weird to say that, because it's like it's kind of it's a new era, dude. It's a new world, like virtual relationships with people, because they are like, no matter if you're an acquaintance to a close friend, you're a part of their day and you become a part of their life eventually. There's a danger there in like replacing your real life relationships with these virtual relationships. So there is a line that I feel like you can't cross there. But
Yeah.
thank you, everybody. That's it, man. Like I'm still I'm still doing it in one capacity or another. And as far as like, starting a podcast, I've been wanting to do it for a long time. If you haven't and you want to hear more about me and maybe some regurgitation of the same story that I told today, there's going to be an intro episode that you can listen to hear a bit more about like why I wanted to start this podcast. And it's sort of from the same motivation. Like when I started recording myself gaming, I found like through Twitch and content creation, you have these conversations that you wish that you recorded so you could listen back to them yourselves, and you wonder like, does anybody else, like it's like you're speaking into a void, like does anybody else think the same way I do? Or maybe somebody else has the opposite view and they want to correct what I'm saying.
Yes.
Or maybe we just want to meet in the middle somewhere. I think that's important. And when it comes to discourse nowadays, it's like the silent majority doesn't speak up enough. And most people can meet in the middle somewhere, because we all have something in common: life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness.
Mhm.
That's kind of what we have in common. I know that's there's a lot of generalization there, but maybe that's something that we can find a common little bit of ground to stand on. We don't have to all be with us or against us. Don't you love that? Just like a really quick description of the state of things. I mean, I just get super neurotic with social media and trying to just understand people. And then it's like I am just as guilty as everybody else. Okay.
Yes.
And I'm just like, I want to understand how I can get better.
This, especially with social media and things like that, it's still new. Like we keep forgetting this shit has only been around, what, 10 or so years now.
It feels like forever. In the same way that we were talking about Twitch, and you were like, there was no hosting, there was no, the steps to get partnered, affiliate, all that stuff. You take it for granted that it's been there forever, but it really hasn't.
No. And it's moved so fast. Like all those things, all the especially with Twitch and their partnership process, that's only been around, like the current way has only been around, what, a year and a half, 2 years, if that.
Sure.
We think that it's been around since then, but it wasn't always that way. And it's been so, it had changed so quickly, and it's still fresh. Like we're still trying to, I think as a species, on the broader kind of sense, especially with internet, when you were talking about before virtual relationships and things like that, we're still learning how we fit into all of this.
Yeah.
We've had so many millennia of community building to get where we are today, when, in regards to our neighbors physically, our townships, our villages, our whatever. Whereas the internet, we've had roughly 20, 30 years. And, social media, the way that it is, that's been the last 10 years. We're still learning. And that's all of us, dude. That's not just you.
Yeah.
That's all of us. We're still learning how to properly, kind of interact in this space, especially without the nuance of tone or body language or
Context, yeah.
context, things like that, you know.
I always struggled with text messages, dude. For the longest time with
Mm,
my family, I said
yeah.
I would get so mad with my sister, one of my
Mm,
sisters, and it was like it was more. I would say more like annoyed because I think saying angry is or mad is like a little bit strong. I would get very annoyed. I was like, could you just call me? And then she would take that, take those and I realized at that time, like, well, I am the way that I'm typing, it does come off as really angry and mad. And it's
mm,
like way stronger than how I'm
than what I
actually
meant.
feeling. It was just like passing like annoyance. Like if you it's like you gotta call me. You can't do this texting thing. And then eventually I gave in because everybody was doing it. And it's like you can't
Yes.
stop it. Like the way things progress, you just can't stop them. It's going to things are going to shift more into the virtual than the real. It's
Yeah.
efficient, like quote unquote efficient ways of communicating. If we could just
Yeah.
just use them in you just slow down a little bit. If we can just slow down and use them maybe a little bit more inefficiently rather than
Exactly. I
quick jumps to judgment and just because you can have a hot take doesn't mean that you should in every
yes.
instance. Well, I do want to go back to one point though. The whole thing with virtual relationships for me is that
Mm,
isn't that they're not good and that they don't feel good. It's just like from my perspective, I get tricked into believing they're more real than they are. And then
yeah.
you reach a certain point where you realize that the person that you're talking to, maybe you don't mean as much to them as they mean to you. And you realize, wait a minute, I overextended myself and I need to pull back a little bit to be a bit more. But I've learned I had to learn that. It was
Yeah.
learned behavior for me because I overextended myself online sometimes. I'll just say that. And now people online, it's a good hang. And I'm able to open up to people just as much to my family as I do
Mm,
to an extent. Of course, there's always dangers of revealing certain personal
too much.
information, but my feelings, I can reveal how I'm feeling a lot
Yes.
better.
Mm.
And that's been something that's helped me grow. It's been like a mutual thing. I've been able to grow my relation with my family, which is pretty powerful, man, because
Oh, yeah.
it's helped me connect with them on a deeper
Yeah.
level. And I don't know where we're at here now, but I did have a couple of questions for you.
Yeah, yeah, go nuts, man.
People would always ask me, people that are starting streaming, they have questions about like, well, what advice do you have for someone who's starting out and like, how do I grow my stream and how do I like what is the best advice you have for people that are getting into Twitch?
The best advice that I would ever get that I have is don't try too hard. You know, don't go for things. You know, at full ball. Start small, build it up. Most of the really big streamers that I know today have started small and they've built it up over time. They may have gotten a boost every now and again where they've gone from 50 viewers to 200 viewers straight away and then drop back a bit and they got another boost and so forth and so forth. But that's pretty much that's it. Just don't come on too strongly. You come on too strongly because the thing about Twitch is it is a community. Networking is so important in this kind of community. It's a lot of the time it is who you know.
Yeah.
You're only going to get exposure to larger groups of people if you know the right people to kind of help you with that. So, and if you come on too strong, you're just going to completely ruin that. Don't go like a bull out of the gates. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. Build up your first 5 viewers. Okay. Then take the step of building up your 10 viewers, then 20, then 50. And if it doesn't work, then it doesn't work. There's no point crying over spilt milk.
Yeah, it's not forever and
Yeah. And the other thing is also be open-minded to the fact that it isn't for everybody. And probably the same with you, dude. Like you mentioned before that you're not expecting to be somebody really big or anything like that. I've never expected to be anybody really big, which is going back to that view botting thing. When I did grow 130 viewers naturally over the course of one stream, I initially thought that it was bullshit.
you weren't like, holy shit, this is my day, boys.
Yeah. It's just like, well, who's fucking with me now?
I think
Um,
that I'll just add just a couple of things in there. I would say that your motives are a big thing.
yeah.
Don't think that you're going to become a millionaire. Take your gains as they come.
Yes.
Not the one day, but like the average of like if you're a stats person, you can look at a whole month and how things are going. And if you do meet people that are, be respectful. Don't make the mistake of thinking that all of the people that you meet on Twitch are there to
Mm,
help you grow. Take it like the Twitch is a big community, and you should be blessed to have opportunities to make friends, because
yes.
that's what's gonna, when times are tough, those are the people that are gonna be there for you
Oh, yeah.
to give you a little boost when you need it. You'd be surprised, man. Some days where I was feeling super low, friends come through, say
Oh, yeah.
hi, bring their viewers over through a raid or a host now, which are somewhat new features if you think about the whole history. And you realize, like, man, I love this guy or gal that comes through,
Yeah.
I'm so happy that I made friends with them, because today it made my day to see them. So
Yeah.
you build those relationships over time. And if you're not in it for the long game, maybe it's not for you.
No.
And you shouldn't feel like you need to stream every day.
No,
And
no, definitely not.
like you said, you gotta work within your means.
Exactly.
Hell, if you have the means to decide I want to try streaming full time, all the power to you. But you better damn well not expect a whole lot. It might not happen. You can't. It's not one of those things you can predict. It's so volatile.
Mm.
Even for like the larger creators, their
Oh,
their
yeah.
their income stream is so volatile from one month to the next. And
Definitely. Dude.
if you're gonna treat it like a business, that might mean that you got to plod along and play the same damn game for a whole month. If you're a
Yeah.
gaming streamer, that is, I'm assuming.
Yeah. And God, treating it as a business, I can't think of anything worse, to be like,
Yeah.
personally.
Yep.
I cannot think of anything worse than treating it like a business. I think a lot of people try and get into the industry itself because they want to do something they enjoy. They want to try and, if they're going to earn money doing something that they enjoy, then freaking bonus. I can't imagine being Ninja, to be perfectly honest. I could not imagine it, playing Fortnite constantly
That
over and
guy,
over again.
people think that it just happened to him overnight.
Oh
They
no,
don't
he's
they,
been,
they
yeah.
don't understand. That guy has been streaming, I don't know, maybe as long as I have. He's certainly been around. He's done this shit. He put in fucking tens of thousands of hours into it.
Hours.
And then
Yeah.
he was in the right place at the right time. And
Yeah.
great. He took advantage of the situation,
Oh
as
yeah.
everybody in his position would have. So you
But
can't
now,
fault him for that. But
oh no,
now,
you can't fault him for that.
but
But
now,
now
of
he's
course,
stuck.
the news media spins it as like it could happen to you. In fact, I did a an interview with a local news station, and that was their dumbass story. Was, here's Ninja. It
Hmm.
could happen to you. All you have to do is stream, and maybe one day you could be Ninja. And it's like, you got to be kidding me. I followed up with the person who interviewed me, and I said, I'd love for you guys to do a follow-up story sometime and talk about the dangers. So I don't remember exactly what I said. I'm like, the dangers of people expecting to become Ninja or something, to that
Oh yeah.
extent. Like you shouldn't be setting people up for disappointment like this. Of course, I didn't get a response back, because they
Oh god.
wanted, I think that they wanted to put out a puff piece for Twitch and its
Hmm.
success, because, well, Amazon is coming into the area with this giant warehouse and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
they wanted to
Yeah.
kind of be like, "Hey, look, Amazon, we're giving you some good press." I think that's just really dangerous for the younger generation, for them to think that like it can just happen to you. Well, nothing just happens to anybody. That guy had to earn it.
And technically, like, there's that danger as well. As a counter side to that point, where it can just happen to you.
Sure.
You can work 10,000 hours, and all of a sudden you're given an opportunity and you ride with it. But that opportunity is not always there. It doesn't always It doesn't always come along. You can work yourself to the bone, and it never comes up. It never, or if it does come up, you don't recognize it,
Yeah.
and you completely let it go by. That shit happens too. and that's kind of roundabout going back to the point. The great advice is just take it as it comes. Start small. Even if you have big dreams, start small. It's not guaranteed that success is going to happen. Your own mental health is much, much more important, and you don't want to have that. And the other thing is, if you start small, you're less likely to get into the trap that so many people seem to get into when they do blow up, whereas they completely have no idea what they're doing and they fuck it all up.
That's right, man. And that's fair enough. That's the advantage of coming into it now, is that there's a lot of creators that have been there and done that before. So you have an opportunity to network and reach out and make friends with people who can give you advice along the way. And if you're proactive enough, you will maybe be more, not going to say you're going to be prepared, but you'll be more prepared for these situations as they happen.
Exactly.
And I would say, for people, just be careful, because I have an addictive personality as a general thing. Like, you get a little bit of success, viewership, whatever, and you think putting more hours into it is going to be like, I had this much success on this day, so I'll just multiply that out, boop, 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 8 hours times this in this many days, and it's not going to happen that way.
You still have to be entertaining. You if you were successful for a 4-hour stream and you want to go, well, I'll do the same thing for 8 hours. Just realize that you have to be entertaining for 8 hours, not just 4.
And listen, I'm no expert on like analytics and like knowing, like, in fact, the guy that I referenced earlier in the story, the guy who inspired me a lot, even back then, he was watching the game types that he liked to play, and he would go in and look at viewership numbers at different times of the day. He would schedule his streams to happen at certain times of the day to take advantage of the viewership being higher.
Yeah.
This was before they had like built-in analytics to your dashboard and stuff on Twitch.
Oh yeah.
And you can certainly do that, right? Jeez, you really like, you're getting I feel like for the person just starting out, like, the main thing is just like, okay, let's get the audio and video looking nice and sounding nice, and let's get you used to actually talking to a chat, and then, like you said, take it as you come, and there you go.
Take it as you come. Also, have fun. People like it when you have fun.
Oh yeah, that's
the other bit of advice.
Yeah, I think that's the number one.
Nobody likes watching someone who's just going through the friggin' motions, unless you're actually really, really, really good at the game that you're playing. That's the only time that you can get away with that. If you're really good at what you're playing and you're having fun, bonus.
Sure. Yeah, man. But let's just end on a positive note and just say that, like, I feel like I'm using the wrong word here, and maybe you'll come up with a different word. There is a spectrum of people that stream games, like you said, the casual person to the person who's really good at games. And there's also a spectrum of viewers, those who enjoy all of those things. So no matter what game you play, to a certain extent, if you're playing some game from whatever, some obscure game, people might not ever find you, to somebody playing the latest, greatest game, there's going to be at least some viewers for you. So pick what you want that you enjoy and have fun with it. That's really it, man.
Pretty much it. If you're not having fun, just go back to your 9 to 5 job, where it probably pays better for you to not have fun.
Yeah. Well, I think that most people would certainly not just up and quit their job, unless I hope they wouldn't up and quit their job unless they had 2 times their monthly income.
I might have to do some research on that for you, because you hear, like, I see some some tweets out there.
I've seen it. I just got affiliate today, guys. I'm decided to quit my job. It puts so much pressure on your viewers to have to support you financially, and it's, in the long run, it's gonna crack, and it's gonna tumble.
As someone who doesn't actively go for subs or donations on my stream, I've been affiliate for 2 years now. I have not had one payout yet. Kid you not. It doesn't bother me either. Does not bother me. I see affiliate more as if guys want to get that little friggin' checkered heart, Yeah, it's there for you.
It gives your viewers some swag, man. It gives them some
Yeah.
it gives them some identity.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yep.
Last two questions. What is the etymology? What is the history of kabbie? I know part of it.
History of kabbie.
Your
Yeah, but
alias.
the alias. Yeah, well, originally my online persona was, I kid you not, CMAS. SEMASS.
Okay.
So, which, as you can, like, I just put it through some kind of random generator,
Oh boy.
and yeah, which never, and I didn't think about the consequences of something that's so close to see my ass. So basically, it needed to change one day. I'd had enough. I've always had something about angels, demons, all that kind of stuff. I grew up in a very Catholic household, which was great to find out was all a lie. Yeah, so I've always had this kind of theology interest in that kind of thing. There is an angel called Cabniel, which was basically the angel that you invoke to help cure stupidity. And I thought, well, that's fucking great for the internet.
Really?
Yeah, that's so appropriate for the internet. It's not funny, and also some of the shit I do on the internet. So I took Cabniel. Yeah, that was all right for a while. Basically, it got shortened down to Cabbie, and of course, I did spend 2 years as a cab driver back when I was in uni. So yeah, cabbie kind of fit as well. So cabbie man. One of my friends came up with the cabbie man can, or all that kind of stuff, and so it kind of just grew from there. But originally Cabniel shortened to cabbie. So, which is why I did kind of move away from the cabbie man kind of thing and just go straight to cabbie, because it was more pure.
That is such a better. That name is so much better to me now that you described it. That's so good. Anyway, last thing I was going to ask is just like, what's the future for you as far as like content creation? Do you have any plans to?
I've got. I'm one of these people. I come up with so many different ideas, because I don't know if you know. I know a few people do, but I also love 3D modeling, 3D sculpting, and also I love doing the weird voices, funny voices, announcing voices, all those kind of things. I got so many ideas, and I'm just limited by time and other constraints like talent, lack thereof. My future, who knows? Who knows? It's constantly up in the air. It's constantly changing. I've gone from channel wise. You're always going to find me playing what I want to play at the time, and having fun what I'm playing, which at the moment is taking the Mickey out of an absolute classic, which is Knights of the Old Republic.
So how can people get in touch with you if they want to?
All right. So obviously Twitch. I've stolen the great kabbie label, thankfully.
That's what the K, if people don't know, it's a K-A.
Yeah, the Kabbie. That's the one. That's the one.
Kabbie. Yeah.
Yeah, which is available nowhere else. So on Twitter,
wow,
I am KABBIE_. Those are two that my two main channels at the moment. I've kind of shut down everything else when I had to take a break a little while back and kind of disconnect, and
happens to all of us, man.
So, but
we're going to be talking again real soon, and of course, I'm Orangesherbet. You can find me on Twitter at Orangesherbet, and actually, the show has a Twitter too. That is at Emotive Podcast. We'll see you guys next time. If you enjoyed the show, consider subscribing or following if you're listening on Twitch, so you can stay up to date with future episodes. You can find me on Twitter at Orangesherb, and also follow the show at Emotive Podcast for updates and to interact with me. I'd love to hear your feedback. You can also email the show with questions or suggestions at emotivepodcast@gmail.com. Thank you for listening, and I hope to see you in the next episode.